Usual that was a fairly closely packed scramble for the tornadoes, 16 jets in about a half an hour, but there's been an unusual heavy level of activity here for both the tornadoes and the F-15s over the past 24 hours or so, but no sirens here yet.
Okay, we are hearing audio right now, Charles, from Jerusalem. That is a long, steady siren sound, and that indicates an all clear. That apparently is not Jerusalem, Tel Aviv. We are hearing those sirens. Right now, we've got Wolf Blitzer at the Pentagon. Wolf?
Well, here at the Pentagon, we really don't know whether this was a real alert or whether it's another false alarm. Yesterday, there were, I think, 3 false alarms in Israel, so everyone is waiting to get the reports. Based on what happened yesterday, we should know fairly soon whether this was a real Scud coming in or whether it was just another false alarm. One of the false alarms yesterday was the result of U.S. intelligence information that was provided to Israel. There was a fear that a Scud was moving towards Israel, but the U.S. intelligence information was clearly wrong. We don't know yet what this current siren was caused by, but we'll be following it as soon as we can.
Okay, Wolf, thank you very much. A moment ago, when we were talking to Richard Blystone, it was just by telephone. We now have Richard on camera. Richard, go ahead, please.
Hello, the all clear has just finished sounding, and Tel Aviv is quiet again, but it certainly is a nervous quiet since nobody can be sure. The Israeli government has said do not discount the possibility of more Iraqi missiles being able to fire at this part of Israel or other parts of Israel. Don't discount the possibility of chemical weapons being used, even though they have not been used to date. And the Israeli military is telling civilians do not even discount the possibility of air raids, even though Israel has a formidable air defense with Hawk missiles up front, a powerful air force, and even, it may be even now, new Patriot missiles. Those missiles arrived today along with American technicians to show the Israelis how to operate them. And the Deputy Foreign Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, told CNN just recently that the missiles would be operational within hours. This is a very new missile. It's only been tested in real circumstances once. That was yesterday in the early hours when it knocked down a Scud missile on its way to Saudi Arabia.
All right, Richard, thank you very much. We have just learned that Jerusalem also just had a ceasefire. We, of course, will continue to monitor both cities through the night there. The big problem, of course, has been the concern about retaliation. This is what we've been talking about all day. A lot depending on how the missiles come in and what they carry. Frank Sesno is now at the White House with more on this. Frank?
Well, Ralph, the nervousness that is felt in and throughout Israel is certainly felt in a much less direct and menacing way here within the compound of the White House and the Bush administration, but it's felt nevertheless. President Bush called Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir of Israel for a second time today. Around 11:30 this morning, he had spoken to him previously at 3 o'clock in the morning after the most recent missile attack, speaking to him again at 11:30 to go over with the Prime Minister, according to White House spokesman Marlon Fitzwater, the sorts of efforts and bombing campaigns that were being carried out by U.S. and coalition forces to rid that western portion of Iraq of the Scud missiles that have been threatening Israel. According to Marlon Fitzwater in a statement, the president told Shamir, quote, "I understand the anguish of your people and your government. We will use every resource possible to suppress and destroy the mobile Scuds." That being said, Fitzwater said in comments just a few moments ago that all the Scuds have not yet been located, have not been destroyed, and the air raid sirens that just wailed prior to the all clear in Israel indicate that there is considerable nervousness there still. This is interesting. The relationship between President Bush and Shamir had been very strained indeed before this whole crisis. They've now had 3 conversations in less than 24 hours. U.S. officials say the irony of this whole thing is that U.S. relations are pretty good right now. An unprecedented move, sending in U.S. troops with those Patriot missiles, something the Israelis have long resisted. It's something the president offered to show that he is prepared to back up these offensive actions against the Iraqi threat with some immediate help on the defensive front as well. It is not described as a quid pro quo for Israel sitting low, however. The understanding is that Israel will not retaliate, at least not now, try to stay on the sidelines as it has. But a senior administration official tells CNN that the Patriots are, it's hoped anyway, will increase Israeli patience and keep them on the sidelines, something the U.S. would like to very much to see happen. Frank Sesno, CNN, reporting live from the White House.
Frank, a lot of people have already indicated that that Israel has shown amazing patience. Are you hearing anything from the White House, or is there any indication there just how long this patience may last?
No, there's no real sense of timing put on the patience, but it is a remarkable achievement, and virtually anyone you talk to, an observer or an official, remarks on this, because it is, after all, Israeli policy to retaliate when attacked. This is seen as a major diplomatic accomplishment for President Bush and a major piece of sensitivity from the Israelis to step back from that policy and lay low even when under attack.
All right, Frank, thank you very much. We are getting word that there may be some more military activity going on, and we get that information from Charles Jaco. Once again, let's go back to Saudi Arabia. Charles?
Well, we're not sure if it's still going on, but we have gotten reports from the pools up with the U.S. Marines near the Kuwaiti border today that there have been the first reports of skirmishes between U.S. Marine patrols and Iraqi Army patrols near the Saudi Arabian-Kuwait border. The nature of these skirmishes is not confirmed. It's assumed they were light, small-arm skirmishes between small patrol-strength, probably reconnaissance units. This would mark the first time Iraqi and U.S. troops have met in any kind of ground-to-ground fire directly. Of course, the Marine units stationed up near the border with Kuwait have been taking incoming rocket and artillery fire for about 3 days, but we don't want to mislead you and make you think those have been gigantic barrages. Some nights there'd be maybe shells, as we understand it, maybe 15, 20 shells all night long. The Marines up there say it's mostly harassing fire. Nothing's been hit. A few Marines have been injured, but nothing serious has occurred. No equipment has been hit. And the Marines say they're confused about the artillery fire because the Iraqis are wasting ammunition, and it enables the Marine Corps Harrier jump jets and helicopters to go in and take out the artillery positions. But again, reports of small-scale patrol-strength skirmishes between U.S. Marines and Iraqi forces near the Kuwaiti-Saudi border. The first time, if the reports turn out to be true, that U.S. forces and Iraqi Army forces have met directly on the ground. Ralph?
Charles, are you surprised at all that this would happen as quickly into this campaign as it has?
Not really. A lot of military people here aren't surprised at all, because you have forces that are fairly near one another on the border, and you will always send out reconnaissance patrols to kind of sniff out one another's positions. Those patrols come upon each other, they exchange some small arms fire generally, and then withdraw. So this kind of thing, it's hoped to be avoided, because you certainly don't want your reconnaissance patrol running into anybody else, because they're supposed to get information and bring it back. It's not a terrible surprise or a shock to anyone in the military that's here.
What about reports, I don't know if you're hearing much about this, about our air power, instead of concentrating, as it has all along now, on military installations, now perhaps going after Iraqi troops on the ground?
Well, we hadn't heard that specifically, but, you know, this has been a mixed bag of airstrikes. Most of them, we've been led to understand, were concentrating on positions like the mobile Scud sites when they can find them, chemical plants, artillery emplacements, and we had heard earlier that B-52s were, B-52 bombers were hitting the elite Iraqi Republican Guards, but we have not heard anything specific about most of the airstrikes now going after ground troops, although, as I said earlier, within the last 30 minutes, 16 Tornado fighter bombers took off from this runway behind us. Even given the increased level of air activity here in the past 24 hours, that was a very large number of jets to take off in such a short period of time.
Charles, thank you very much. We shall keep in touch. Charles Jaco in Saudi Arabia. Cheryl?
This news is just in from CNN's Candy Crowley at the State Department. Apparently, there has been some sort of meeting with an Iraqi official and someone from the U.S. State Department. The Iraqi official is the Deputy Chief of Mission, Khalid al-Shawaish. That is according to the Iraqi embassy. There's not certain whether he was called in for the meeting or whether he came on his own. He met with someone from the State Department and came out with a letter. We don't know what are the contents of that letter. We're trying to find out what's going on here. CNN's Candy Crowley is at the State Department, and we hope to go to her with more details as soon as we can get them. Ralph?
All right, we're also getting information that apparently the Pentagon is sending in new missile, the familiar and well-known Tomahawk cruise missile, and to be used in the defense. Missile that, as you can see there, can be launched either from ship or submarine. A fairly substantial range, and can be used either with conventional warheads or nuclear. But the Pentagon has apparently decided now to send in the Tomahawk missile. We're going to continue with more of our coverage of the war in the Gulf right after this.
If after test driving a Sterling, you find another car with all of its standard features and appointments for $28,500 or less, we'll do more than congratulate you. We'll buy it for you.
We believe getting hair into superior salon condition takes 3 steps: shampoo, conditioner, and finishing rinse. Now the benefits of these 3 salon steps are in one bottle. Introducing Ultra Care from Vidal Sassoon, the first salon shampoo and protein conditioner with the benefits of a finishing rinse. This final step helps seal and protect hair from styling stress. Shampooing, conditioning, even finishing, all in one. Advanced salon thinking for superior salon hair. Ultra Care.
Well, this doesn't look very interesting. I mean, I thought you'd have me try something a little fancier, maybe with nuts and fruit cocktail. These are nothing but flakes. It isn't at all what I expected. I like it. Oh, I get it. It's a whole new kind of cereal. Simple and back to basics, right? I like it.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Corn Flakes?
Taste them again for the first time. They're coming! Dow Bathroom Cleaner with scrubbing bubbles. It's 50% stronger than original Dow Bathroom Cleaner. We work even harder, so you don't have to.
For the latest news on the Persian Gulf, call the CNN hotline, 1-900-520-1CNN. The cost is 50 cents a minute. No profit to CNN. Parental permission is required.
CNN's John Sweeney is in Riyadh. He has a guest. Let's go to there now. Maria? John?
Well, Ralph, like no other conflict in history, this has indeed been a media war. If Saddam Hussein prays before cameras just before calling for a holy war, he is seen around the world doing so. There are thousands of journalists in many countries in this region, often describing the momentous events as they happen, even in the enemy camp, as was the case with my colleagues Bernie Shaw, John Holloman, and Peter Arnett in Baghdad. Well, Saudi Arabia, for so long a country virtually closed to the Western press, now plays host to about 800 journalists these days. And Shihab Jamjoon, a deputy minister of information, has found himself in the unfamiliar position of having to deal with that huge onslaught of journalists. From a Saudi point of view, has this media attention had an effect on the war? Would it be different if there wasn't this kind of attention?
Well, I think so, for sure. I mean, without it, the war would be different.
In what ways?
Well, because now all heads of states are getting their information from the media, I mean, especially CNN. And if I want to say, now Saddam have been getting a lot of advices from CNN of what to do tomorrow. And I think we have overestimated his power also through media, and we fulfilled his ego because, as you know, he's a megalomaniac, and by the media we have done all this. So the war would have been different without the media.
He has sent missiles to Israel the past 2 nights. There's a great concern he will do so again tonight. Has this media coverage had an impact on his decision to do so?
Well, I think so, because we have been repeating if he would hit again, we will retaliate and all this. So it's giving him more ideas of what to do about next. And we give him advices by this way, and which is sometimes positive, sometimes it is negative.
Saddam Hussein is a leader who is quite provincial, actually. He has not been out of his country that many times. He has not experienced the West. So I suppose if he watches television as much as they say he does, he must get an opinion of the West and the power of the American military from television.
Yes.
How does he make his decisions based on television, do you think?
Well, I think for sure he watched television very much. And I think he did not expect that that we will hit. Maybe because of the last days' riots and that it happened in the West. It gave him some kind of relaxation that we might not do it, or we are hesitant to do it, or we are a little bit worried to do it. But, you know, we did it.
The latest word we have from Israel is that they will not retaliate for the second day of missiles coming into their country. Everyone's being asked this question. I'll ask you. Is there, if they enter this conflict, is there any chance that this coalition of which your country is such an important part will fall apart?
Well, I think it's unwise for Israel to get involved in this because they know and we know that Saddam he does not mean to hit them. He just wants to break the coalition of the group.
The Israelis have described these attacks on residential areas as large-scale terrorist attacks. From your point of view, would you say that's correct?
Well, I mean, we don't like to see any that it happened, but we hope that, as I said, that there will be no interference in this war.
Someday this conflict's going to be over. The experts say it will be over successfully for your country and the United States, and Saudi Arabia is going to have to emerge as some kind of a society. Will this experience with journalism and Western media, will that have an effect on your society eventually?
Well, there will be some effect, but I hope it's our way, our own way, through our traditions, through our customs, through our religion, because we don't like interference and we like to do it our own way.
Do you think it will be, you say there will be an effect to some degree, you think? It's inevitable.
Yes, I mean, we are changing. Every day we change. And I think what happened will have an effect not only on Saudi Arabia, but to the whole world.
Mm-hmm. I mentioned that Israel had ruled out retaliation after the second day of bombing. I've now informed in my right ear that officially they have not ruled that out, so I should set the record straight. But still, there's this whole situation with the missiles going from Iraq to Israel, you feel, is influenced to some degree by the attention the media has given to this man?
Well, I'm just thinking, this is just a thought, because there's so many instances that we found out the second day after seeing what's in CNN, Saddam will do it. So this is what I thought, maybe he's going to follow your advices.
One more question. This man is so unfathomable to Western minds. We cannot figure him out. Can you, is he any easier to describe from your point of view?
Him?
Saddam.
Well, as I said, I think to us he's a megalomaniac. And what he wants now to be a hero and to be another Hitler. And
all right, Dr. Jamjoon, thank you for being with us. I'm John Sweeney, CNN, reporting live from Riyadh.
Thank you, John. We reported a moment ago that there has apparently been some sort of interaction. We don't know if it was a meeting, a discussion, or just a visit between an Iraqi official and a member of the U.S. State Department. CNN's Candy Crowley is trying to get information on that story. She's live now at the State Department. Candy?
Let me give you what information we do have at this moment, and that is that the Deputy Chief of Mission of the Iraqi Embassy, Khalid al-Shiwaish, was indeed at the State Department. He left here carrying a note about 10 minutes ago.
Shiwaish, can you tell us what the topic of your meeting was?
I have to read the letter first.
You don't have a clue what it's about?
Well, we are still functioning as an embassy, no? So...
Are you talking about prisoners of war?
I have to read this first.
Who is the letter from?
I don't have any comment now, so perhaps you could call me later.
We do happen to know what was in that diplomatic note that was given to the Iraqis from the State Department. It was a note reminding them that Iraq is a signature to the 49th Geneva Convention dealing with prisoners of war. It reminded Iraq that it had signed that convention and that the U.S. expects Iraq to live up to those, to the convention which spells out how prisoners of war should be treated. So far as we know, as of yesterday, there had been no U.S.-Iraqi contact other than on the battlefield. So this is the first diplomatic contact between the U.S. and Iraq since the war started. Candy Crowley, CNN Live at the State Department.
And this would seem to be an admission, and the Pentagon itself admitted that there is a possibility Iraq has captured some U.S. and allied air pilots and is holding them.
Certainly it would seem that way, or at least it's just setting the stage for the possibility. I don't think we can take quite that leap and say, well, yes, it means that Iraq does have prisoners of war. It may mean that, but certainly there is no harm in reminding Iraq that it was a signature to the Geneva Conventions dealing with the handling of POWs, and just getting our ducks in a row for that eventuality.
Thank you. Candy Crowley reporting to us from the State Department. We'll be back with more of our news coverage right after this break.
If after test driving a Sterling, you find another car with all of its standard features and appointments for $28,500 or less, we'll do more than congratulate you. We'll buy it for you.
Along with the Glaciers, a string quartet. There are Eagles and old world antiques. Midnight Sun, Rosenthal China, the finest service, and the spouting of whales. Surely there is no land on earth more magnificent and wild than Alaska, and no way more civilized to see it than aboard the ships of Holland America, the world's best cruise line.
Eat your cereal, it's healthy. Open wide.
That's it. I've had it with these healthy, schmelthy tasting cereals. I want a cereal that tastes so good. You want to eat it. Your mini wheats.
Dad, these are good for you.
I don't want to hear that.
See? No salt, no cholesterol, fat-free.
I can't hear you. Sorry, wrong number.
Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats. Surprise! They're good for you.
Got lots of fiber, too.
I didn't hear that. I heard that.
Washington apples. They're as good as you've heard.
We want to let you know that we are expecting a briefing from the Pentagon in just a few minutes at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and CNN plans to carry that briefing live. Also, this program note for our CNN viewers: much of CNN's regular weekend news feature programming is being preempted for continuous coverage of the Gulf War. CNN is a global network committed to bringing its viewers complete coverage of the war. However, our correspondents are operating under conditions imposed by the military officials of the countries involved in the conflict. All reports out of Iraq the last 2 days have been censored, and Iraq now has ordered all international journalists to leave the country. CNN journalists in Israel are not allowed to report the number of missiles that have landed unless quoting Israeli authorities, and they're not allowed to say specific locations that have been hit. British military officials are not allowing CNN to report specifics on military tactics, casualties, or loss of equipment. And U.S. military officials have imposed restrictions on interviews with Operation Desert Storm personnel, as well as photography limitations. CNN will continue to bring you the most complete coverage possible, but we want you to know the difficult conditions we face. Ralph?
All along, of course, Jordan has made it perfectly clear that it is not comfortable with the thought of missiles being fired over its airspace, missiles between Iraq and Israel and Iraq. Let's go now to Tony Clark, who is in Amman. Tony?
Ralph, in fact, that's exactly what we've been talking about here in Amman. When those sirens went off in Israel last hour, it's something that we think about here in Jordan because we're right in the middle, right between Iraq and Israel. And if there is a conflict between those two, and if Israeli jets come over, there could be the start of war here in Jordan. That is perhaps one of the reasons King Hussein here of Jordan has tried so hard all along to be the mediator, trying to prevent fighting from occurring in the Persian Gulf, and failing that, trying to get it stopped. Doug James reports.
As fears spread that the Iraqi missile attack on Israel could haul Jordan into a wider Middle East war, King Hussein made one last desperate bid for peace.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and friends.
After several days of official silence on the escalating crisis, he called a news conference and appealed for an immediate ceasefire in the battle.
If hostilities could be stopped for a period of time, then maybe people of goodwill can redouble their efforts to try to find solutions not only to this particular crisis, but from it to move towards resolving all other problems in this region.
King Hussein always saw himself as a mediator in the crisis, but many feel he wasn't taken seriously by the parties directly involved. Even now, he concedes he has not had any direct contact with the chief protagonists since the war began.
If the possibility is there for somehow an effort to cease hostilities and to give a chance for diplomacy to try to resolve the problem, this is the time. And now rather than later.
Caught in the middle between Iraq and Israel, Jordan's armed forces were put on an even higher state of alert on Saturday. Its military and political leaders consumed with what to do if Israel responds to the Iraqi missile attacks. King Hussein has said he will not tolerate any violation of his nation's territory or airspace by either of his warring neighbors, although he admitted his armed forces don't have sophisticated equipment that could detect ballistic missiles in flight over Jordan.
If such violations have occurred, they might have, but we have neither the means to detect that nor to confirm or deny it.
Detection or lack of detection, it hardly matters, for detection would require a response, and that's what Jordan desperately hopes to avoid. Doug James, CNN, Amman.
As Doug James mentioned, the Jordan military has been put on high alert, and we were just informed today that the military has said that we can no longer shoot any video from the rooftop or high places in Jordan for military security reasons. All just another sign of the growing tension in this country. I'm Tony Clark, CNN, reporting live from Amman.
As the events in the Gulf progress, the troops continue to take action and get ready for whatever may become necessary. We have some pictures now from the 82nd Airborne troops in the desert.
Are you excited about the fact that after 5 months you're on the move?
Oh, yeah. We're going to humiliate Saddam Hussein. Hope he has a good sense of humor because it's going to be a big joke.
Have you read a lot, studied a lot, practiced a lot? What have you been doing for the last 5 months?
Getting ready to kick his butt, sir.
Okay. I see you've got quite a bit of stuff here in your rig. What's your job and what are these for?
Well, I'm my commander's driver, and I'm basically a supply route. I get all the supplies to the troops, and I make sure he gets where he's going, and I follow up, with the vehicle, because we're going to have water, supplies, and all that other stuff on it for the troops and for our company.
Okay, and what's this that we have here?
This is grenades for my M203 grenade launcher.
What is that good for?
To kill the enemy.
Well, I'm glad to be on the move because, one, this is the first step, for us getting to go back home. And not only that, it's a big step in maybe getting some world peace around in this country.
Your mission out there, if you should have to confront someone?
Well, our mission is to take out any tanks we can.
And the weapons that you're using to do that, how effective are they?
Very effective. Take out any tanks out there. 3,750 meters, you can't miss.
Tell me, the troops here, you've been here for 5 months. Is everybody a little worn down, or are they ready? Or?
Oh, I think we are ready right about now, sir.
We've got the finest Army that I've ever seen in 22 years of service. These guys are just absolutely great. I couldn't ask to be going into combat with anybody better than what we've got right now.
And we'll be back with more of our coverage right after this.
Traders Post Classified paper brings you thousands of bargains every week. Now we bring you those bargains a whole shopping weekend earlier with Friday delivery to over 1,200 stores. Your ads can be placed as late as Tuesday for Friday's papers, so pick up a Traders Post on Friday and get what you want now. Wheels and Deals magazines bring you thousands of cars and trucks plus boats, motorcycles and more every week. Now we bring you all these great deals on Fridays for a whole extra weekend to shop for bargains. Place your photo ads as late as Monday and still be in that Friday's edition for results that will amaze you.
The 2-for-1 sale is back at Watson's. Buy any above-ground pool and get the second one free. This 24-foot pool is 2 for $8.99. 2 for 1 on spas and hot tubs, like this one, 2 for $22.99. 8-foot slate pool tables, 2 for $12.99. Don't need 2? Bring a friend or neighbor. 2 for 1 on tanning beds and patio furniture. Fireplace inserts are 2 for $16.99. 2 for 1 on glass doors and gas logs. 6 months, same as cash. That's Watson's.
This is CNN.
Another Pentagon briefing is scheduled to begin any time now. CNN's Wolf Blitzer is there. We'll go straight to the briefing. It's begun.
The Joint Staff who will be able to answer some of your operational questions. Let me discuss, first of all, the question of Patriots to Israel. The Department of Defense is making a temporary deployment of U.S. Patriot air defense units to Israel. This deployment has been ordered in the context of the United States security commitment to Israel and is specifically intended to assist Israel in its defense against missile attacks from Iraq. Israel has tried from the beginning to stay out of this conflict. By attacking the civilian population of Israel, Iraq is trying to widen the war. These attacks further demonstrate how dangerous and ruthless the Iraqi leadership is. We also believe that the deployment of these Patriot units will help Israel maintain the extremely positive posture that it has kept in this crisis. The Patriot deployment is part of our overall approach to defeat the threat of Scud missiles from Iraq. I can't go into the operational details, obviously, but we're dealing with the Scud threat by trying to destroy them before the launchers can be dispersed, before the missiles can be launched, after they're launched, and by providing early warning for the civil population. Secretary Cheney said just a short while ago on returning from Camp David that the Scud threat continues to be a high priority concern for us. We've knocked out part of Iraq's ability to launch Scuds, and there were fewer last night than the night before, but it continues to be a threat that we're working very hard to overcome. There's no one single answer to the Scud threat, but our very active and serious efforts, as well as those of our coalition partners, will bring the threat down drastically and as quickly as possible eliminate it. Now, the units that we're providing to Israel, both Patriot fire units and the crews to operate them, began to arrive today. The first units are now operational. The decision to have U.S. troops man the Patriots is an extraordinary step, but it's been taken in view of the unconscionable attacks on Israel. I have some other announcements, but are there any questions specifically about Patriots? And then we'll deal with the Scud questions later. Katie?
When you say it's a temporary arrangement, how long will it take for the U.S. personnel who have been deployed to Israel to train the Israelis? And is that, in fact, what the goal is?
Okay, there's two separate components to the Patriot support. The Israelis have purchased Patriot units, and they were there before. And there's a training program going on now as to when the Israeli forces, the Israeli Defense Forces, will be fully trained up to man those Patriots. That's an operational detail that I can't discuss. Now, the Patriots that are arriving and that became operational today, the crews to operate them came with them. And U.S. crews will be there to operate them and to assist Israeli forces in operating them as well. So, in other words, what we have sent to Israel that's arrived there today is a fully manned operational system.
How many U.S. troops
Let's just take one question at a time, and I'll point to you.
How many U.S. military troops will be deployed temporarily to Israel?
I'm not going to go into specific numbers. Dennis?
That was my question.
Okay.
Is this the first time U.S. troops have been deployed on Israeli soil?
Oh, well, the U.S. troops are U.S. military personnel are present in almost every country with which we have diplomatic relations. There are Marine Guards, there are defense attachés, and so forth.
But in a potential combat role?
Well, first time is always a risky one. Let me look into that. I'm not positive of that, Brian.
Will American forces be used to man the Israeli-owned Patriot missile system?
No, these American forces are. We got a program to train Israeli Defense Forces. That training program is going on now. That's a separate question. These Patriot batteries or fire units that arrive today will be manned by primarily by U.S. troops. Bart?
Are the numbers of fire units being sent sufficient to protect the Israeli coastal cities?
The units that are being sent will help to further defend Israel. There's no such thing as a foolproof defense. To anything. So that's a very, very difficult question to answer. Michael?
Pete, two questions. You described this as a temporary deployment. Does that mean they're to be withdrawn after the war is over? Two, you mentioned
the answer to your
sharing,
first part of your question is yes.
Two, you mentioned that we're sharing intelligence information with Israel or providing warning of Scud launchings.
Right.
Did we begin doing that for the first time yesterday? And or have we done this before? Was that the first time that this has been done? And when was that arrangement worked out?
Okay, yes, it's the first time it's been done because there's never been a situation before where Iraqi missiles have been fired at Israel.
No,
so
we might have had an arrangement prior to the firing we would have agreed to. Was the arrangement to provide warning of an attack only worked out after they were hit by the Scud missiles in reaction to that?
No, it was worked out before, but I can't get into any details on when it was worked out.
Mr. Hussein had been threatening Israel for 5 months. Why now are the Patriots just being in place at this point, and was there any preparation, or did the Pentagon not anticipate this happening?
Well, first of all, as I said before in answer to Katie Couric's question, there is a sort of two-pronged approach to the Patriot system. One is the missile units that we're sending and training Israeli crews on, and that has been underway for quite some time. The specific units that arrived and became operational today are being sent there at the request of the Israeli government, and you would have to ask them about the timing.
When was the request made, and who decided to send the units?
Request was made just very recently. The decision obviously was made at the highest levels of the government.
Pete, concerning the Patriots, were those that were deployed scheduled to be deployed as part of Desert Storm? And will they weaken U.S. efforts in the Persian Gulf and areas of defending Saudi Arabia and Bahrain?
No, these units are based in Europe.
They were not scheduled for redeployment down to the Gulf?
No. Keenan?
He's going back to that prior shipment of Patriots. Why is it that they were not up and operational prior to the war?
I didn't say they weren't operational.
Why were there not crews sent to man the Patriots?
Sorry?
Why were there not crews sent earlier?
Because in the early agreement, that was an arrangement where the Israelis would purchase the Patriot systems and have their folks trained up to operate them. And that's a training program that's going on now. And that was all worked out earlier.
But in view of the fact that the threat was so clear and so imminent, why did they turn down a chance to have American
You'll have
crews?
to, as far as the Israeli government decisions, I speak for the U.S. government. You'll have to ask them.
Pete, there was more air raid sirens in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem today. Has the Pentagon detected any new Scud firings or missile firings today?
Oh, that's off the Patriot question. Let me hold that for General Kelly. Any other Patriot questions?
Yeah. Are you concerned that the Jordanians could become involved if a Patriot destroys a Scud over Jordanian airspace? One of the things they've said would bring them into the conflict.
That's awfully hypothetical. I'll just stay off of that one.
Have you got any idea how long it takes to train crews like the Israelis for the Patriot missile? How long does that training take?
I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that
You
one.
didn't say so, but are these the most advanced Patriots that we have?
That we're sending in today?
Yeah.
Yes.
And do you have any numbers on them?
No, we won't be giving out specific numbers. That gets into an operational detail.
Were there consultations with our Arab allies before the decision?
We don't discuss, the kind of negotiations and discussions we have in between governments. Jim?
Had there been any offer by the United States before the beginning of hostilities to send a U.S. manned Patriot system into Israel?
Again, same answer to the previous question. That gets into sort of private government-to-government discussions.
Yes, in terms of how well the Patriots work, can you give us any more information on the two that were unintentionally fired in Saudi Arabia earlier?
I don't have any further information on that. That's under investigation right now, and I don't believe the investigation's complete.
Pete, you said they were moved from Europe. Was there consultation with the European allies, and will that weaken posture in Europe?
No, it won't weaken the posture anywhere. What it does is it assists Israel in its air defenses. And again, all this business about consultations and that sort of stuff, those are, in normal times with our normal Pentagon press corps, I would say you'd have to refer that question to the State Department. We just don't discuss government-to-government discussions. Let me take a few more and then I need to move on.
Given that there's a concern that there might be chemical warheads on some of these missiles, and given that the Patriot missile that shot down a Scud already did it 1,000 feet over the ground, is there any concern that it may actually prove dangerous to shoot down a chemical warhead while it's in the air?
I think that the best consensus of military folks here in the Pentagon is that, number one, we of course don't know for certain whether the Iraqis can in fact put a chemical warhead on a Scud missile. We know they have the ability to field chemical weapons. They did so in the war with Iran. We know they have the ability to launch Scuds, but we don't know whether they can put the two together. Clearly, we have to operate on the assumption that they can. But the second part of the equation is, I think the military will tell you that the best thing to do is to try to shoot a missile out of the sky before it lands on you.
Two other quick questions on the Patriot. The initial batteries that were already in Israel, and you mentioned this training program. Is this training program being conducted by U.S. military personnel
Yes.
or by Raytheon? And by military personnel?
Well, it's probably a government contract. I don't know how much of it is government contract representatives and how much of it is U.S. military, but it's a part of an agreement we have with Israel to provide the training.
So you don't know, in other words. I mean,
In other words, I don't know. That's right.
Wait. One other quick question. I don't think you really answered it when I asked you before. Is the goal of the U.S. to train the Israelis as quickly as possible so the U.S. military people can leave?
Oh, yes. Yes, sure. Yes.
Pete, do you have any sense that this is just the beginning, that additional U.S. troops may be sent to help defend Israel?
I have no feel for, I've heard nothing, no discussion of anything beyond the specific Patriot question. Now, I've got some other announcements, and I don't want to hold General Kelly and Admiral McConnell here for a long time. The other thing I need to talk to you about here briefly before we get into the operational details is the fact that the President has signed the Presidential Ready Reserve Call-Up Authority. That's the next level of authority to call up reservists and members of the National Guard. We've discussed this here over the last several briefings that we've had with you, but the President has now signed the executive order delegating to the Secretary of Defense the ability to call up a higher level of reservists for a longer period of time. The level at which we've been operating is a level of presidential authority which permits us under the law to call up to 200,000 members of the Guard and Reserve at any one time for up to 180 days as it stands now, 90 days plus 90 days. We are running out of time for some critical skills in reservists and guard members who have been deployed to the Persian Gulf. We need to keep them for a longer time, and we may also need a slightly higher number. So we go to the next authority in the law. Now, the law says when you click up to the next level of the law, it gives you the authority to call up to 1 million people for as much as 2 years. No intention of calling 1 million people for 2 years. So let me tell you what the authority is that the Secretary has delegated to the military departments under this Presidential Selected Reserve Authority. And I'll give you two sets of figures. I'll give you what the current authority they have now under the old provision of up to 200,000, and then I'll give you a column of figures of what the Secretary has given to the military departments under this new level of authority. Is everybody with me so far? Okay. All right, I'll give you each military department, the old authority and the new authority. For the Army, under the Selected Reserve Authority, 115,000. Under the new Ready Reserve Authority, 220,000. For the Navy, under the Selected Reserve, the limit was 30,000. Under the new Ready Reserve limit, 44,000. For the Marine Corps, the old authority, 23,000. The new authority, 44,000. For the Air Force, the old Selected Reserve Authority, 20,000. The new Ready Reserve Authority, 52,000. For the Coast Guard, and this is a level that has to be set by the Secretary of Transportation because he has the jurisdiction over the Coast Guard. The old authority was 1,250, and I don't believe the Secretary of Transportation has set a new authority yet for the Coast Guard. So you add that all up, and you get a maximum call-up authority under the old authority that has expired or that's been really subsumed by the new one. You get the old level of 189,250. And you get the new call-up authority given to the military departments of 360,000. Now let me just throw another couple of numbers at you. I said a moment ago that the old authority, under which we were operating for most of this week, was a maximum of 189,250. We have called to active duty so far 161,887. So as you can see, we were about to hit the ceiling there of how many could be called up at any one time. A couple of other things to note about this. We have said by instruction to the military departments, by the Secretary's order to the military departments, that what we'll do is basically take all the people that have been called up so far under the old authority and switch them over to the new one. So this is not in addition to, this takes everything we've already sent and puts it under the new authority. And we've said that all those who have been called up will serve only a maximum of 1 year from the point at which they were called to active duty. So what that means is that someone called up under the old authority in August, we're saying we won't keep them beyond a maximum of August of this year. Any questions on that? Yes, sir.
Are there any considerations for hardships? Because a lot of these people are single parents, people who have other jobs in the military just cannot, provide enough income for them. Will there be any considerations made for people like this?
Yes, there will. We feel it's important to give the military department some flexibility in dealing with hardship cases. Let me give you an example. What we get under this new authority, under the old authority we could call up members of the selected reserve. That's the trained up drill status members of the military reserves and guard. You add to that under this new level authority the ready reserve. That's individual ready reservists, people who signed up for a military hitch. Let's say they signed up for an 8-year hitch and they didn't serve all 8. Now they're back, they're back home working in a civilian job. They still have some unexpired time of commitment to the military. So you could call them up even though they're not in a regular guard unit, even though they don't drill, even though they don't get paid. Well, you could have a thing where, let's say, there's 4 doctors working somewhere, and the Navy goes after 2 of them, and the Marine Corps goes after 1, and the Army goes after 1, and they take all 4 doctors out of this town or hospital or something like that. We've given the military departments the flexibility to deal with those sorts of things.
What this boils down to is that you can call about 200,000 more, right? You take
170,000 more. 170,750 more.
Right, but since you've reached the ceiling of, you were about to, let's see, you called up 161.
Yeah,
so 360 minus 161.
That's right.
Would there be a year's limit on their term of service as well, or have you decided that?
Yes.
This is the new authority that the services had.
Right.
Is it anticipated that the services will more or less fully exercise this authority so that we will have 360,000 Americans called up under the reserve?
While the Secretary delegates to the military departments the authority to call up this maximum, he doesn't just snatch the numbers out of the air. He relies on them and says, how many do you think you'll need? So this is a number that each military department has drawn up, and they're going to be the ones that have to decide how many they're going to call up. And I don't know whether they intend to call up the maximum here. Okay, 1 or 2 more, and then we'll move on to General Kelly.
I just want to ask you one additional question on the Patriot, if we could.
Okay.
We just got the first pictures of the Patriots arriving in Israel.
Right.
Could you explain exactly the limitations, how this type of system works, what it's designed to do, and what it's not designed to do? There's a sense that maybe all of Israel could be protected by this, but I guess that's not the case.
Well, there's some limitations on what I can discuss in the capabilities. Let me, we've got some fact sheets on the Patriots. Let me, for the sake of moving on here, say that we'll offer those to you after the briefing.
I'm sorry, but just to clarify one further question on the Patriot. If I understood your answer to an earlier question, the intention, I may have misunderstood this, is the intention that Israelis will be trained to operate these Patriots that are coming from Europe, or are those only to be operated by Americans?
The Patriots that arrived today will be operated primarily by the U.S. troops who arrived with them. They will assist Israeli Defense Forces in operating them. I mean, we clearly work very closely together on these.
There's no intention to train the Israelis in operating them and turn over the operating of those weapon systems to the Israelis.
That is correct. However, I must hasten to add that there is a program underway now to train Israeli Defense Forces on the Patriots, which they've already acquired. That's a separate matter.
Patriots. So as long as these Patriots are there to defend Israel against Scud attack, Americans will be there operating them.
Correct.
Another quick question on the Patriots, Pete.
Let me just amend my answer to Michael's question. That's the agreement which we have right now. Obviously, we can always go back and change it.
How much has the force that was, the Patriot force that was in being in Israel before increased now?
That would require me to get into specific numbers, and I'm not going to do that.
I'm just asking, has it doubled? Has it tripled?
Yeah, I can't characterize it. Okay, last one, Mark.
Can you give us a status report on the Turkey's acquisition of Patriot missiles, where they stand on that?
I'll have to check on that. I don't know. Let me turn over now the operational questions to Lieutenant General Tom Kelly, Director of Operations of the Joint Staff, and also Rear Admiral Mike McConnell, who's the Director of Intelligence for the Joint Staff. And they can, you going to have a statement to Tom? Okay, they'll answer your questions.
We'll just say we're less than 3 days into the operation, and we're over 460,000 U.S. military in the theater.
General Kelly.
Sir?
Has there yet been any sign that the Iraqi troops in Kuwait have started to pull out? That's the goal of this whole thing, after all.
Kuwaiti theater, yeah, that's correct. No, I have seen no indication of any pullout by Iraqi troops.
Can you tell us, sir, about reports that you're now going after the Republican Guards more energetically?
Yes.
Could you elaborate?
We'll try to hammer them just as hard as we can. The campaign is orchestrated. The first objectives represented certain things: command and control, air defense, air superiority. We're beginning to achieve some of that. So as the chairman said on TV, we can begin to shift the focus of the air campaign somewhat. Doesn't mean we're going to stop doing what we were doing initially. Yes, sir.
General, does Iraq hold any prisoners of war?
Not to my knowledge.
General, U.S. or anyone else? Any other allied forces?
I think they've still got some Iranian prisoners of war. I'm not sure about that, but I don't know that they hold any prisoners of war from the Allied force.
Follow up on that. An Iraqi diplomat was called to the State Department to discuss treatment of prisoners of war. Is that just, in advance of something that might happen, or?
You'd really have to ask the State Department. That would be my surmise.
General, we've had some conflicting confusing reports about exactly what is the current capability of the Iraqi Air Force. Could you give us an update on what you believe has been done by the coalition forces to the Iraqi Air Force and its operational abilities? We've also heard reports that they're using highways since they can't use runways. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, first, I think that we have the capability to gain and maintain air superiority in any sector of Iraq in which we wish to operate. They have moved, as you may know, some of their aircraft further north. They have always had plans to use sections of highways as dispersal airfields. Many nations do that. I think the air campaign vis-a-vis the Iraqi Air Force is going quite well, going just about the way we expected it to, and we're satisfied with the results. They are not bearding us very much.
Well, as a follow-up, how much of the Air Force, can you give us some assessment of how much the Air Force has either been actually destroyed or rendered ineffective by reason of being trapped in their underground bunkers or whatever?
I'm not sure we can give you very much on that. I think CENTCOM gave some figures this morning on the number of aircraft shot down, relatively few compared to the Iraqi Air Force. Mike, do you want to take a try at the attrition?
Bomb damage assessment is one of the more difficult aspects of following up in the campaign effort. And we've been inhibited somewhat. The information frequently is from a gun camera or what comes back from the actual flight, and weather has been a major problem for us. I can share with you that of the times that the Iraqis have chosen to engage, they currently have lost 10 and, of course, 0 on the coalition side. For the most part, when discussing air forces, it's useful to think about it in terms of air defense system. And currently their air defense system in the west and south is weakened significantly, and they have moved their efforts further north. Bear in mind that the Iraqis have never faced Western well-trained forces, and they're finding it a force that they cannot contend with.
But can you say have a lot of these aircraft been destroyed on the ground or before they even got up? I mean, obviously shooting, they haven't engaged us very much, so we don't know. Apparently they're not losing many in the air. Have we destroyed a lot of their Air Force on the ground?
I think, as Mike said, we've had difficulty with the bomb damage assessment. We call that BDA. Because of the weather over there, we're trying to get more information in all the time. But the fact of the matter is that their air defense system is no longer successful in major portions of the country.
Are you shifting now from more the strategic phases of bombing to tactical at this point? And if so, what other tactical targets might you be looking for?
Well, of course, we're not going to discuss very much what kind of targets we're looking for. The chairman said we were going to begin to hit the Republican Guard more. That's a very important part of their military capability, the Republican Guard. We are continuing the strategic campaign. We are also working very hard on the Scud threat. Those three things are...
General Kelly, there are reports that the Air Force bombers and the Allied Force bombers are returning with more of the bombs on the planes and not being used. Is time running out for the use of the Air Force to take out these Scud missiles? And do you anticipate now having to go in using more ground forces or whatever to take out that threat?
Well, I don't accept your basic point that more and more aircraft are coming back with their ordnance still aboard. If an airplane goes out and can't find its target or there's something wrong with its system, it's not going to expend the ordnance unnecessarily. Remember, one of the things we're trying to be very careful about is not causing excessive casualties during this campaign. But as I said yesterday, we feel that our air campaign is being about 80% successful, and we are very satisfied with that. We are still using the air primarily, still using the air period, to look for the Scuds, and we plan to continue to do that.
General, could us follow along those same lines? Could you walk us through what you are currently doing to try and track down all the Scuds and what problems you're encountering?
And what are the numbers of how many you've destroyed?
The short answer is everything we can. We're conducting reconnaissance. Remember, the weather is bad in western Iraq right now. That's where the Scuds have been launched at Israel from. We are conducting reconnaissance. We have aircraft up. We are covering the area constantly. We have Scud watches going on in theater and other places. And we think that eventually we will be successful and reduce the Scud threat. I think it's instructive to note that on the first night there were, I think, 8 fired. On the second night there were 3 fired. We worked it very hard since the second night. As was indicated by Mr. Williams, we're also putting some capability in Israel to counter those missiles. If they get there, we hope that they're not going to get there.
But what are the problems you're encountering as you try to go after those?
Finding them. It's, the thing said, Commander-in-Chief said yesterday, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. The mobile launchers are quite easy to hide. He had more than a few months or 5 months to hide them. He had a couple of years if that's when he, in fact, planned to attack. But we are searching for them, as I said, assiduously, and we hope to find them.
Yesterday you were reluctant to say that the United States and the Allies had already achieved air superiority. But today you indicate that the United States does have air superiority. In the vernacular, does that mean the United States and the Allies now own the skies over Iraq?
What I said was that we can achieve air superiority in any area that we elect to go into. As I meant to say yesterday, if I didn't make it clear, they have moved their aircraft to the north. So if we go up to the north, we have to encounter those aircraft that are there. I think we can encounter them, and I think we can defeat them anytime we want to. So I'd say you're somewhere between extensive local air superiority and air superiority.
Can I follow that up? When you say they move them to the north, what do they have in the north? Do they have facilities, air bases, or are they just on highways?
Mike, that's...
They have facilities throughout the country, and I believe they've moved them to the north because we're operating from the south. If we go to the north, then they're going to run out of places to go.
Aren't you operating in the north, though, out of Turkey, or is that unsuccessful today?
The operations in the north are not unsuccessful. However, they're relatively new, so we haven't established the kind of effort that we have in the south.
General,
Yes, sir.
I'm finding a conflict in information. The last couple of days, I've heard 80% successful on bombing raids. I keep hearing this figure. Unfortunately, none of us here are seeing that information you're seeing, which tells you it's 80% successful. When can the media, and directly, when can the American people plan to see bomb damage assessment, meaning planes smashed on the ground, bunkers torn up, airfields torn up, supply facilities torn up in unclassified photos, or gun camera, which was shown on CNN? It's not that I hate to say I'm unconfident about it, but unless I can see it firsthand, I'm disinclined to believe both of you. I'm not impugning either one of you.
Understand. As was just said about 2 minutes ago, we're having difficulty with the damage assessment because of the weather. When the information is available, we'll make it available to you.
Pilots haven't been able to tell you. I mean, when a pilot unloads ordnance, he's going to tell you, I hit it or I didn't. His camera will say, I hit it or I didn't. We've had 3.5 days now.
I am making available to you what I have available to me, so
You haven't seen anything? You haven't seen those bomb damage assessments? Admiral, could you fill us in, please? I'm just trying to get a handle on this.
The difficulty is having the photo in front of you. Bear in mind that what you've seen so far with the precision-guided systems on television allows you to see that. If you're a fast-moving airplane dropping weapons that are free-fall bombs, you don't have that same advantage. Now, not to impugn my fellow compatriots, comrades in arms, but when you are in the excitement of battle with the adrenaline, if I took every report and counted a kill on every report I received, the Iraqi Air Force would have been eliminated a long time ago. My responsibility is to sort that out piece by piece. And I think we're sharing with you the characterization of what we know that's accurate as best we can without revealing everything we have in terms of capability that would be of assistance to the other side.
CENTCOM for those hard figures and hopefully provide them.
we are asking CENTCOM for data. We are analyzing that data when we get it, and we will make it available when we are authorized to do that. Yes,
General Kelly, we've heard that U.S. and allied forces have had to retarget sites 3 or 4 times. Is it your understanding that some of the hits have only resulted in very light damage to targets?
Again, you're back into the BDA question. We don't have all the answers on it. We do have indications that the attacks have been very successful. Certain targets have been retargeted. I wouldn't want to characterize that as being excessive, but we knew from day one that we would have to go back in there. You know, it's a difficult equation.